presentation on PLM and in conjunction with SOLIDWORKS. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Mario Viteri. I'm the Western Regional Manager for Javelin and also work with the Aras PLM team, and we're responsible for PLM, CM across Canada. We're a complete turnkey reseller for Aras. I'm hoping that you can all hear me. Next to me is Susan Rockefeller. She's one of our PMs and implementers of the Aras product for Javelin, and she's going to go through an overview of the Aras product, Innovator product for us today. I just wanted to let you know there's an awful lot in this product. If you want, you'll be getting phone calls or messages after the meeting. We can set up more detailed demos for you, but this is the first of a series of demos that we're going to be, webinars that we're going to be doing over the next few months, just to get our customers and people understanding what we do with the PLM system. I'm going to hand it over to Susan. I'm going to, just one more slide. Okay, so again, Mario Viteri, Susan Rockefeller, and Sarah Pugh is coordinating the webinar for us. So I'm going to hand this over to Susan. She's going to go more over an overview and talk a little bit about the product, and we'll follow up from there. Thanks very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are. I'm going to actually just go right into the demo, and we're about 30 minutes, like Mario said. Thanks, everybody, today for joining us. So we're going to talk about Aras Innovator today. I'm just logging into our application. So Aras Innovator is a product lifecycle management system. Aras has been out for many, many years in the PLM industry. They're well known. They're kind of the darling of the industry. So I've logged into the Aras Innovator interface, and as you can see, it's a web client, and it's taken over my browser. I'm running in IE, but it supports other types of browsers such as IE or Google Chrome. And just a quick overview of the interface. I've got buttons here across the top, menu buttons, and based on who I am or what I'm doing in the interface, I might have options available or things might be grayed out. I have icons, toolbar right below that, and then I have table of contents view, or a TOC view, that Aras refers to on the left-hand side. And based on who I'm logged in as, Aras has users, groups, permissions, quite complex, that you can put in and implement to meet all of your security requirements. So based on who I am, I'm logged in as Innovator Admin today for the demo. It determines what I can see. So as I navigate down this table of contents view, or the TOC view, I can go in and navigate into certain areas of the interface. So Aras, I'm going to start off really with sort of a project management. So Aras has project management built in. If you're managing your projects through Excel, or you've got a variety of tools such as Microsoft Project, different members are using different sort of solutions and keeping their project plans on their desktop. This solution within inside Aras allows you to keep your projects within Aras, allowing you to link the information together and giving the project manager right behind me this sort of dashboard view as to where my projects are at. Yellow is indicating I've got some warning signs, green is good and on track, and red would indicate that things are a little bit behind. I'm going into the 3D or the printer modification project, and Aras has, this is called a tear-off window. So depending on the type of object that I'm looking at in the environment, whether it's a project, a CAD document, or a part, there's information at the top here that describes what it is. And so project, Aras has implemented the project management solution to be in compliance with PMI. So you got your target finish, target start date, you got your forward and backwards scheduling. Down below in the window, and this also indicates my phases and their activities, I can create projects from templates, so it allows you to keep project templates in Aras, have their own approval process for release and use, and assign different authorities and identities. So your PMO or your project manager is responsible for creating those templates, and then users or project managers can use them after they've been released. If I navigate down this project structure, you've indicated some text in red. This is just indicating the items that are on the critical path, so it does all those calculations based on the PMI. Some of the activities, so it's got your activities and milestones and work breakdown structure just as you would normally predict in a project management solution. I've got people assigned, I've got dates, planned dates and start dates. But one of the key advantages of having project built right into your PLM tool is that with activities, you can look over here to the right, you can enforce that your users that are completing those activities actually attach a document or reference a document or a part to that activity, and that document is released as part of the change management release process. So as that activity gets completed, the project manager, rather than running around and trying to find out where the status of the documents and drawings and parts are, they can see it right from the dashboard view. As we drilled into the document itself, you can see that the top part of the form is changing to include document properties. Aras delivers document properties, CAD properties, part forms out of the box that can be easily configured to add additional properties to tailor to your organization. I can also see that there's the native file and the viewable file. I can also go into this view here where I can go in and click. This is Aras's visual collaboration environment, so it gives me a viewable file that I can go in and see. I just need So with the visual collaboration, it honors our security. So it allows me to have a discussion panel. It's what they call the secure social. So they've implemented this to match all of the social media websites. You can flag, you can reply, you can erase, you can like. I can go in here and make another comment. I can go in and quickly make a red line to say, you know, we need to take a look at this. It includes a snapshot, so at any point in time it freezes that comment to that version of that specific version of the document. I can flag it, I can like it, and I can use this to do online collaboration with my project team if they're in disparate locations. So going back out of this document, I'm going to go and take a look at another component that's part of my project plan delivery, and this is a physical bill of material or product structure. Okay, so if I go into my bill of material view, I'm just going to stretch this window out a bit. So the part information, similar to the document, has information about the part. So if you think of a part in Aras as a logic or as an index part, it's your part master, it's got information about it. So if you think of coming from a SOLIDWORKS environment, SOLIDWORKS is really around files and managing files. So if you think of the bill of material in Aras, it's referred to often as the engineering bill of material or the EBOM. Rather than just CAD data, you might have glue, you might have grease, you might have software, you might have electronics, or if you're in a multi-CAD environment, you might have both the mechanical CAD and the ECAD in this bill of material. If I go and take a look at the bill of material structure, this is actually giving me my full bill of material view of that assembly, which is a maker-bought printer, and I can go in and see additional information. I can see what revisions parts are at and what state they're in, whether they're in change or whether they're released. I go back to the bill of material view and I can quickly enable the red line mode. There's not any red lines on this particular one, but I'm going to drill down a little bit into my bill of material to take a look at an extruder. So if I take a look at this extruder, you can see that there's a couple of things going on. This is still a part, but there's files associated. And you can see this thumbnail image of the extruder assembly. I'm going to go back into that red line view to kind of get a view of what some of the changes are that are coming. And I can see that this fan is being replaced, part of a change management process, as well as the thermocouple. So that's a quick view as to what's going on. I can also indicate that there's change pending against this part, and there's now other information associated to this bill of material. So if I go in and I take a look at my CAD documents, but before I do that, I'm going to go in and take a look at the 3D view that's presented in the visual collaboration. Visual collaboration is sort of happens in behind the scenes when the SOLIDWORKS users check in and check out their CAD systems from either the EPDM connectors or directly from SOLIDWORKS. This kind of happens behind the scenes where there's a sort of conversion server that's converting this 3D into this viewable format. But what I can do now is that not only can I mark it up like I did the document itself, but I can go in and I can explode this view, these parts out. I can also take a look at a specific plane or a cross-section, and I can zoom in through the X, Y, Z. I can also take off the exploded view and come back to my exploded view. Here's my cross-section. So I can sort of come in from the X, I can come in from the Y plane, and I can sort of push back those parts so I can see into the inside of that assembly. So I'm going to just take off my cross-section, and I'm going to take off my exploded view, and I'm going to go in and quickly make a quick comment in my visual collaboration view. So I can go in and I can add a comment or a line, say, please take a look at this. I thought like I did previously, and it's got the whole email thread. So the nice thing about visual collaboration is it allows you to collaborate on complex CAD models that are brought in from CAD tools, and whether this is an mechanical CAD, it's brought in the same way, it's viewed in the same way. It allows your team, whether they're spread out around the world, to collaborate, but not have a requirement for that CAD tool to be sitting on their desktop. And because it honors error security, if I don't have access to see some of this information, it's actually not going to, it's going to prevent me from seeing both the conversations and the discussions as well as some of the markups. Coming back to this, there's additional information here. So if I look at 4 files for the PDF view, because Aras knows that there's potentially parts and sub-assemblies and components, and there's CAD documents as well as other documentation associated to that part. It might be your cost analysis. Because it honors and it knows that this part is an assembly and those assemblies have documents in CAD related, it kind of does an aggregate of all of the files that are somehow linked to that component itself or sub-assemblies to indicate that here's a collection of the data that you want to see, so users don't have to kind of navigate down a bill of material or hunt through folders on a hard drive to find all the information that they need related to their part. I'm just going to switch back to my part form, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the data and the relationships here. So those documents that I looked at through that visual collaboration view are actually, some of them are associated here, and some of them might have been referenced in the subassembly. So when we talk about CAD documents, which is the purpose of the webinar, but I kind of wanted to give you a context view of this engineering bill of material as well as your CAD data. So if I take a look at the CAD documents, when you work with the EPDM and the SOLIDWORKS direct connectors, what those connectors are going to do is it's going to build out your bills of materials. It's going to also input and log your CAD into Aras. If you're using EPDM, you have that data in EPDM, and the assemblies and the drawings are tracked in that. But EPDM kind of becomes a work in progress repository for users that are working with CAD, and Aras is going to manage your global change management processes, so the whole entire life cycle of the CAD document and the designs as they relate to bills of materials. If I look at this CAD document and I look at the part bill of material, just to kind of do a side-by-side compare. You in essence really have a bill of material for the parts, which could include other things that aren't specifically CAD, like glue and grease and ECAD and software itself. And then the CAD document is actually built directly from the assembly file and the parametric data that's coming in from SOLIDWORKS. CAD connectors can also support Inventor and AutoCAD and Pro-E and CATIA, and they're managed and manipulated in Aras in exactly the same way. So with this CAD document, as you'll notice related, I have a CAD document for the assembly as well as the CAD document for the drawing, because I have two physically separate, say, components or files or items that I need to manage. They're managed separately in the EPDM environment, but they both relate to the part. So Aras makes that direct connection for you. From the CAD document, when these come in through the connector, going back to the CAD document for the CAD users using Aras, they can always go back and find the part and that are viewing the entire bills of materials and view and navigate down to the CAD. I could also do a where used. The viewable file is also available here, as well as that visual collaboration. This viewable file is actually a 3D Adobe PDF. It supports the Adobe Acrobat reader, so somebody could use not just visual collaboration, but they could go into here and view it from this point. One of the things that you'll notice that's important with Aras managing your parts in your CAD is managing the changes through the life cycle, through formal change management procedures. Aras supports a number of different change management solutions out of the box, including full CM2 compliant problem report, enterprise change request, and enterprise change notice, and it also supports other types of change management. We're going to go in and take a look, because there's a change pending against this CAD document. The lifecycle state is in review, and the lifecycle state of the part is preliminary. So much like you're using EPDM, EPDM manages those lifecycle transitions from in review and released and in work. And it sets permission sets on them so that different individuals or groups can manage or edit at different stages of the life cycle, and it makes sure that you can't make unauthorized changes when a CAD document is in review, for example. If I go to this specific ECO, I can go see where this is in my process. So I'm going to go take a look at this engineering change order. This is one of the change management forms that Aras delivers out of the box with their solutions as part of product engineering. It delivers not only the life cycle for that ECO, but there's a workflow attached or associated to that. So if you're used to EPDM, in essence, it's kind of the life cycle of a document. It's a life cycle, they call it workflow. But on top of that, Aras has this workflow, and this is what's going to send notifications to users in baskets in Innovator. It supports electronic signature. At any time you can view the sign-off to see who's completed their activities, who are you waiting for, how they submitted, how they voted, and they can move this through the workflow. And the workflow is smart enough to know who is assigned. It can dynamically assign based on ownership of parts and documents, and it moves it through the process. So what things you'll notice on the ECO is that what's happening on this change. What are the changes that are being proposed? That's important to know. There's also that visual collaboration. I could actually mark up comments and files that are associated specifically to the ECO. It might be, you know, a markup or a photograph of somebody taking a picture of what happened in the shop or in the field. So this particular engineering change order, I know that this top level assembly is changing because it's being revised, and it's being revised from an A to a B. This component that's got to remove, we're actually going to remove that component from the assembly. This fan 2 is going to be removed, and this component down here is going to be revised. So we're revising both the extruder and the extruder drawing. You can tell by the icons these are CAD documents, And other documents that are associated that are being managed in the same change process is the things like the cost analysis and the requirements review. There's also a blank line down here, and that's because I'm attaching or I'm adding in a new part or document into this assembly to put in more supporting information. So I can tell what's going on in my change, and I can tell where it is. You can also, this change process out of the box also spawns off additional change management processes, and you can see this by they call it an engineering design review, so that different CAD documents are owned by different team specialists or subject matter experts in your organization. So you want to make sure that they're the ones that are responsible for doing the work and updating the CAD and actually working on the CAD document. So this out-of-the-box change management form actually spawns sub-workflows when it gets to that draft changes where people are allowed to go make changes to CAD and make the updates as described in the engineering change form. It spawns sort of sub-workflows, and that parent change management workflow, the ECO, can't progress. These sub-workflows have, so this kind of collects, sends stuff off in parallel to multiple groups to get work done, and then at the end collects them all up together. So I'm coming out of the ECO, and like I said, Aras supports the many different change management solutions involved, including CM2 fully compliant closed-loop change management process. So a little bit back to the part. So I got to this information through my project, because I was a project manager on this particular view. I could navigate to the part, the bill of materials, see where all my changes are. So Aras relates this information, and it gets you to that information from whatever direction you need to do that. If I was a CAD designer myself, I may be working directly with the CAD documents and going into CAD documents. I could go in and look through this point of view. I could look for the extruder. I can use simple searches, advanced searches to find my data, and I can navigate down to that CAD assembly. Being a CAD user working through CAD connectors, your CAD users, once they get their activity, they are going to work through EPDM or SOLIDWORKS and then go in and say, search for my parts in Aras through the SOLIDWORKS, directly through the SOLIDWORKS interface or through the EPDM interface. And the EPDM are put in sync with the workflow progression in Aras as it moves. It's going to actually move it through the EPDM workflow and keep those in sync. So navigating, I can, as if I was a CAD user, I could go into here. Where the information goes is where I would come in the first thing in the morning is actually I would come into my in basket and say, what kind of stuff am I supposed to be working on? What workflow activities do I have? And with workflow in Aras, it allows you to send activities to groups of users, specific users, subject matter experts, and teams. So if I was working on one particular ECO, the ECO 1015 is the one that we looked at, I could go in from here and look at that ECO from my in basket to say, you know, what's the ECO about? Is it something that I need to do, or is that something that I need to work on? You'll notice that it's being assigned to Mike Miller specifically, but this particular workflow assignment at the bottom has been assigned to a group. So if it was assigned to a group, I could go in and claim that task, and that would indicate to other people. It's got this little person with a flag waving. It will show red on somebody else's desktop that I've actually claimed that activity. I can go in and see actually that it's active and it's claimed by Innovator Admin. So if somebody else has claimed your activity, you can run over and say, hey, you know, I need to work on this, or communicate with them on that way. That was a very quick overview of Aras. So we just wanted to kind of kick this webinar off with kind of a general overview. So from the project point of view, we can get to our bill of materials. Aras is going to manage materials from a configuration and change view with your change management workflows, controlling those processes and the release of those documents and parts, And then your CAD documents are going to be related automatically for you through connectors such as EPDM or directly from SOLIDWORKS. If you don't yet have EPDM in your organization, you can go from SOLIDWORKS direct to Aras. So with that being said, I know it was sort of a whirlwind, and thank you. And we're going to open it up maybe to a few questions. I'm just going to turn this back over to Mario for a second.
So I think what we wanted to do today was just give you a quick overview of the product and kind of the way it works with the CAD systems like SOLIDWORKS. Hopefully this spawned you to join us for some of the other webinars that we're going to do. And we're going to start going through different solution sets within Aras as we do these webinars. So we'll concentrate a seminar on configuration management, another one on records or requirements management. We'll do a couple other ones on maybe APQP or for quality. And then there's other things like technical documentation that we'll be able to go through. So I wanted to kind of just get you interested in this product. It's a very strong PLM product. It can do both PLM, CM, and it also can help you with any kind of document management within your organization. We'll be following up with some calls, and we can always set up a one-on-one presentation or demos for you as we go through. But for now, I wanted to thank you very much for taking the time and for joining us today. And I'm going to sign off from here. Thank you very much.